Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting Year-End webinar. Guys, in this webinar, I'm going to demonstrate the year-end pre-checks, running the year-end, and then the after year-end checks as has been requested. Please note that you may not need to perform all of these checks. This is dependent on if you're using Partner Express and if you have add-on modules such as multi-currency, multi-stores, serial number tracker, etc. That being said, if you look at your checklist and if you don't know where to find the checklist, you can either go to sagecity.com. Once you've gone to sagecity.com, select Groups, Africa and Middle East, and select the Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting product. Please note that Sage 50 Cloud Pastel is the umbrella name for all versions of Pastel, whether it be version 11, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, etc. It's all the different versions. While some of the steps may look different, in essence, the steps are the same. So all of the before year-end checks, running the year-end and after year-end checks are very similar, if not identical. What you can do is you can go to the year-end center here or visit the year-end center, and this is everything with regards to the year-end. You can then go to full year-end processing. This will open our infographic, and in our infographic, you can go to year-end preparation. This will give you a list of all of the options that you need to perform, as well as links to the videos if they exist. The other way is in the year-end center, you can go to year-end preparation, or alternatively, you can go to sagekb.com, select Sage 50 Cloud Pastel Accounting, and in the search option, type year-end. This will open all the year-end related information, and you can open the year-end checklist. So guys, this is how we can get to the different checklists. And then based on these different checklists, you can then go and check what the steps are. So the first one here is, have you run the 13th period? Now, guys, please bear in mind that running the 13th period is not mandatory. This is an option. You can choose to set up the 13th period or not. What the 13th period is the 13th period is a period of grace and basically allows you 1 month in which to finalize your year end. Now, there are a few misconceptions with regards to the 13th period. So if we go to setup and periods, firstly, you need sole access mode. This means that no other people are in the company and that no other windows are open, and we can see our periods. Now, you can choose to have 12 periods, which is the norm, and it will run March to Feb, or to have 13 periods. Now, when people set up a 13th period, one of the misconceptions I often get asked is, does this mean that I have to wait until the end of March to run my year end? No, it doesn't. We are allowing you 1 extra month to finalize your year end if you so choose. But if you have finalized March to February on the 5th of March, you can roll over. If you finalize it on the 18th of March, you can roll over. If you only finalize it at the end of March, that is also fine. But you can capture transactions, whether it be customers, suppliers, cash book, up until the 31st of March before you're going to run out of financials that you can capture, before you start capturing out of period. So you go to set up periods, you can change the number of periods to 13. And if you change it to 13, what you need to do is you need to understand what this option means. So if this option is ticked, it means that whatever your last period is, whether you are running 4 periods, whether you are running 12 periods, whether you are running 13 periods, whatever period appears last will be the first period of the new financial year. So after running year end, it will make whatever period is here the first period. If you do not tick this, what it means is that the very next period following your last period will be period 1, in this case, April. So I've seen it where people have 12 periods and they've ticked the option. What that means is that February was the last period. February becomes the first period. I've also seen it exactly as it is now, where you've got 13 periods and then April becomes the first period. And both times people phone in and they go, okay, my periods are incorrect. What did I do wrong? Guys, rule of thumb is if you have 12, do not tick the option. And if you have 13, tick the option. So no tick means whatever follows your last period is period 1, and a tick means that whatever period is last will be period 1. And again, the 13th period is not mandatory. So please bear that in mind. Sorry about that. So it's not mandatory. You can choose whether you wish to set up a 13th period or not. All that it does is allow you to capture your March transactions so you don't have to wait and hold off or, you know, set up extra time to catch up while you finalize your year end. Then guys, the next check that you should run immediately is the data integrity check. This is to ensure the integrity of your data. And we do this by going to File, Data Integrity. You can make a backup, however, the integrity check should not break your data, but as you know, it's rather better to be safe than sorry. So make your backup. And then you select Next, verify the data only, and process. Now guys, depending on the size of your data, depends on how long this check takes to run. This could take anywhere from a few minutes to a couple of hours, possibly overnight. I have seen it need to be run for 24 hours. And what you want to see is no errors were detected in your data set. That means that your integrity is clear and that you can continue. If you do get errors, you need to email supportsa@sage.com, attach the error report, include your customer number, and you need to ask support, do I need to book my data in for a data fix before running year end? There are very few errors that you can run with the year end, so the chances are that yes, you are going to need to. But please double check, because the turnaround time for a data fix is 1 to 2 working days. Once you've done your data integrity check, the next thing that you can do immediately, even if you are only going to run your year end at the end of March, if you so choose, is you need to ensure that you have backups of the data sets that you are running the year end in. So if you're using irontree, if you're using cloud backup, if you have set up OneDrive, whatever you're using, normally with irontree and with the cloud backup, it sends you an email, backup was successful. But guys, it doesn't necessarily advise you what backup was successful. So you may not have the specific data set up, but you happily think you do. And there are certain errors that cannot be fixed unless you have a backup. And there's nothing worse for you or for us in the event that you don't have one to have to tell you to start a new company and take on balances, especially if you don't know what those balances should be. So my advice is, even if you have those solutions, before you run your year end, please make a backup. So right now you can ensure that it is part of those solutions, but I would still advise actually going file backup before the year end process. And then if it's pointing to your Pastel folder, create a new folder called, for example, year end 2021, create process. So what it's doing is it's making a backup. And I know that I have a backup. Now, guys, this safeguard backup should be done after you do all of the checks. The reason that I said what you need to ensure right now is that your backups are included is because that's something that you can do today. That year-end backup should be done when you've done your stock take, all of your batches have been sorted out, and you're actually ready to roll the year-end. But that is how I would do it. Then guys, the next thing is, if you are using inventory, you do need to process a year-end stock take. Now we call the stock take account inventory. And there are two ways that you can bring in your stock take. You can either create a count sheet And on the count sheet, you can choose to import it, or you can create a count sheet and you can choose to manually input it. And how you process a count inventory is by going to process count inventory. It's going to ask you to rebuild the batch quantities, say yes, and what you're going to see is that it's going to open the data integrity check again, but instead of verifying the data, it's going to rebuild your batch quantities. Now, before you do this, you need to ensure that your batches are correct. Generally, the safest option is to make sure that you don't have any open batches when you are running the stock take. But on occasion, that's unavoidable. So if you do have open batches, what you need to ensure is that if there are supplier batches, that is not stock that you have yet received. If there are customer batches, that is not stock that has left your floor. Those customers are still coming to fetch the stock, or you are still delivering that stock. It has not left your shop or warehouse floor. Because if it has, and you have open batches and you process a stock take, when you update those batches, it's going to mess up your stock take. So please make sure your batches are in order. You're then going to rebuild the batch quantity. So what that means is that it checks those open batches, it checks the actual quantity on hand, and makes sure that the quantity on hand and the batches are actually in sync, and that the quantities that it says you have theoretically are correct. Now, what I mean by correct isn't that those are the quantities. What it means is that that is what Pastel absolutely 100% thinks you have, whether that is what is on your shop floor or warehouse. Once you have run the integrity check, you'll say finish. And then, sorry guys, my apologies. I'm just going to very quickly clear my snapshots because I need to show you how to do that. I did not realize that that was still there. So the next step that it's going to do is it's going to ask you to take a snapshot. Now, if you are going to do this just so that you can get your count sheets in order, please clear the snapshot as I did, because this is going to take a picture of your inventory right now. So guys, many of you might actually plan that you're only going to do the stock take in the middle or the end of March, for example, or you're only going to do it in 2 weeks' time, but you want to get the count sheet ready, you want to start making preparations, and you're going to continue to process. The snapshot is a picture of your inventory quantities as they currently stand. You do not want to use an old stock or an old snapshot. So if that is the case, please clear it. It's the last option. I will show you when we get there again. Again, please make a backup, guys. And this is when you're going to enter the inventory quantities, because this process cannot be reversed if you do not have a backup. If you do not have a backup, you will have to keep doing your count. The thing is, every time you do a count inventory or a stock take, it creates balancing journals. So if there's a difference between the theoretical and the physical stock on hand, it creates journals. If those journals are wrong, guys, that could cause a lot of heartache for you. Your auditors are going to be sending you journals that you need to do for your sales and your cost of sales. Have the backup. If anything goes wrong, you can restore the backup rather than having to try to now fix an incorrect stock take. It's then going to advise you about taking the snapshot, and depending on if you are running Partner or Express, depends on what you're going to see here, including what add-on modules you have. In my case, I do have serial number tracker and I do have multi-stores. So if you do not have multi-stores or you are running Express, you will not see this option. You will just see inventory, category, bin number, barcode, down. You will not see the from and to store. The from and to store allows you to take a snapshot per store and work per store, or you can capture everything all together. It's totally up to you. If you want to select everything, you leave the top blank and the two filled with Zs. And then depending on how you select your inventory, if you use inventory code, bin number, or barcode, you'll see that it's very much your list. So you will go through and you will select the list. However, if you select inventory category, it's going to give you a drop-down list. So it's not going to give you the magnifying glass list. And here to select everything, you select the very first and the very last options. So guys, please bear that in mind. And again, to select everything, you do the following. Now guys, if you choose not to select everything, so say you choose to select a range, you will receive the following message. I will tell you, this is how many were snapshots. Are you aware of this and do you want to continue? This is in the event that you made a mistake and you didn't select everything. It just wants you to know that. You can then say, yes, I want to create another snapshot. Or you can say no, and saying no is very similar to if you selected everything. It doesn't ask you, do you want to create another snapshot? It just goes, hey, you've selected everything. We're good, right? And you basically go, okay. It's then going to tell you what you need to do next. Now, guys, the next thing that it generally selects is to print a count sheet on which you will enter the physical quantities on hand. Please note, this is not in the correct layout for importing. So often people are like, oh, okay, so this is my import layout. No, it's not. This sheet looks totally different. So I'm going to show you the difference. I'm just selecting, and you'll see here, it just goes code, barcode, description, unit, and physical quantity. So it's allowing you to select your physical quantities and their spaces because of serial numbers. So it's allowing me to go, yes, this is the item and here my serial numbers are. As opposed to if I import them, and if I import them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my KB and I'm going to say import inventory. And guys, as you can see, you need to look for the one that is correct. So it'll tell you no modules. We've done TXT and CSV. And then it'll, in my case, say multi-stores or serial number tracker. And please just double check. I find working in CSV a lot easier than TXT, but you may be different. And if I look at what it should look like, it should have an A, B, C, D column. That layout definitely isn't correct. Now, there's a quick way that you can make this layout. So I'm going to cancel here. Please remember the stock take will remember where you are, which is pretty cool. But that's why if you're not going to do your stock take immediately or you're not going to freeze processing, you need to clear the snapshot and take it again when you're ready. But guys, one of the nice, quick, easy ways to do this is you go import, export. And what you're going to do, especially if you're doing everything, export inventory items, and you're going to give it a name. So I'm going to go inventory import stock take 2021, for example. .csv. Please put the .csv on the end. It's very, very important. And I am doing this to my desktop. I'm then going to tell it to include the field names just to make it a little bit easier for myself. And I'm going to go process. I want it to use everything. So I'm going to go OK. Now I can do that per store. So again, Cape Town, I'll just do Cape Town. Durban, I'll just do Durban. And Joburg, I'll just do Joburg. Why? Because I'm not going to have someone go and count in all the different stores. In my case, I've selected everything just to show you what it looks like and to give you an idea of how you can create your import file. So I'll go to my desktop and I will open this up. And guys, firstly, I'm going to basically delete all of the information on here because all I want is my inventory code. That's it. That's all that I want here. And what I can do is I can go inventory code. Then basically you just look back, you go, okay, then it's store. If you happen to use multi-stores, then it is quantity, and then it is serial number. Now guys, I specifically use this layout because it has all the multi-stores for importing. And the thing that you need to remember is with serial number tracker, you cannot go, oh, I have 10 items and then put one serial number. So with serial number tracker, it's always 1. And basically, I'm going to, let's say I have 20 of this. I'm going to have that 20 times. I'm going to have 120 times so that it makes up 20. And then I'm going to put all of the serial numbers down. Now, you may have a situation where even if you have no multi-stores, you might have a inventory code that shows multiple times. The reason that this is important is that when you are processing your counter inventory, you actually need to double check when importing what options it gives you. So I will go to the enter or edit physical and show you how that works. But when importing, it's going to ask you certain things. The quantity method. The first one is if the item only appears once, because what's going to happen is if it appears more than once, it will overwrite the quantity. So in this case, if I selected 1, it would only ever bring in 1 item, the very last one on that serial number. The second option is to add the quantities together. So if you're using serial number tracker, you want to select the second option, or in the event that, for example, you have this item in multiple places on your warehouse or your shop, and you know that actually the keyboard item code is 5 times on the spreadsheet, you will select the second option. What it'll do is it'll go, oh, 5, 10, okay, that's 15 plus another 3, that's 18, and it adds them together. With serial number tracker, because you have to go 1, 1, 1, 1, it'll go 20. Here the serial numbers are, we're good to go. So that is the difference. This is 1 line per item code. This is multiple lines per item code. You want the quantities to add. This will replace quantities. So if you have it more than once, it's going to keep replacing. Oh, you said you had 5. Now you said you had 10. Now you said you had 20. 20 it is. It's not going to add those together. And then, guys, it's what have you used to identify it? Have you used the barcode to identify it, or have you used the item code? In this case, because I've exported the inventory item file, which I find is the easiest, it is the item code as the identifier. You will then import the name, whether it is TXT or CSV. It can only be one of those, and it should import without errors. If there are errors, you'll need to phone our support, but if you do go to the knowledge base, it should show you the layout, either TXT or CSV. Then, guys, if you want to enter it manually, you have 2 options. You can show the items on the snapshot, and you're probably going, okay, you don't understand why I'm selecting that because everything was selected. But let's say that you selected a range, but you forget to tick that option. You'll see the following. You may see items in red. They're in red because they were not included in the snapshot. That is why they show in red, or they are service items and cannot be counted. You'll notice here these cannot be counted. They are service items. We are counting physical stock. Then, guys, you need to enter your quantities. So let's say 13. I'm just entering random numbers, and so on and so forth. Now, if you skip, so you just tab, what you're saying is that the theoretical quantity that Pastel thinks you have and the physical quantity on hand are identical. Now, a lot of people make this mistake when they mean 0, because they go, oh, I'm skipping it, it'll put 0. No, it won't. If you wanted to say that you have 0 quantities, you need to enter 0. If you skip, it means theoretical and physical are identical. So my thing is, I wouldn't leave blank spaces. It's better to rather fill it in, rather safe than sorry. And if it's 0, you need to enter 0. And if you are using serial number tracker and you say that you've got 30 items, you'll notice that it does this. It goes 0 of 30. You need to select the magnifying glass. It is now going to give you a list of all the serial numbers you have. You have 2 options. You can either double click to move it from the right to the left, and you can now see I need 30. I've already selected 1. Or you can go through the list and select what you need to. Now, guys, it's very unlikely that it's all going to be consequential, and you can just select these items. for example. Now, in the event that you require 30, but it says you only have 20, what do? You need to create the remaining 10. So, for example, I can then go create as I enter them each, or create all, which will make them consequential, and OK. So guys, you will need to create those. So it's not a problem if you actually have more on your floor than you thought you had. You just create those serial numbers and you say, okay, you can either import them from a list that you've created. So if you, again, have a CSV file, or you can go and manually type them in. What you want to see is, I say, I have 30. There are my 30 serial numbers, continue. Once you've entered everything, you're going to say next. And whether you've imported or you have physically entered those quantities, you are then going to print account variance. Please don't skip this step. It's very important. I personally print to screen first. And the reason for this is because you can very quickly see if your snapshot is corrupted. It happens on occasion. It is not fun when it happens. And my advice would be just enter 2 or 3 values and print, go to the print screen for this report, because if you see, here's the physical, here's the theoretical, here's the difference, here's my variance, I know that my snapshot is fine. If my snapshot is completely blank, it shows me nothing, click on rerun firstly and check your options. Okay, what did I say? Do not show uncaptured values. No, I want to show all. Okay. Show items. Make sure everything is showing. And then say okay. And just double check. Because if it is showing you just with dashes or it's blank, that means your snapshot is corrupted. And guys, what you need to do is you need to clear the snapshot and start again. If, however, you view this, you're happy, you can continue. Something to watch out for is this, for example, I said I have 45, there was 0 on hand, the variance is 45, but there's no unit cost, so it's not actually going to write to journal. This is a red flag. The snapshot is not corrupted. It just means that there is no average cost connected to this item. So, guys, what I mean by that is edit inventory item file. When you do a stock take, Pastel looks at this in order to do the journals. If you notice that your average costing is wrong, please get hold of us so that we can advise you how to fix your average costing, because you don't want to run a stock take where your average costing is wrong, especially at year end. Why? Because you want to produce an inventory valuation report that says this is the financial value of my stock on hand. So you really don't want to have 0 variances. You know, I'm bringing in 45 items at 0. That's not a good thing. So again, if we go back to our account inventory, you'll see that we were talking about our count. Make sure that our count is correct. We're going to pretend that it is. You can then print, email, rerun if you so wish. And then, guys, if it is correct, you want to update the difference between the theoretical and the physical quantities and clear the snapshot. If it is incorrect, or if you took this 3 weeks ago and you have processed, please clear the snapshot without updating the inventory quantities, retake it, and redo your stock take. In this instance, so you're going to say next. You're going to select when you want to process the stock take. It should be for the end of Feb. You're going to say next, and then you're going to say process. Once it's processed, in order to check the values, I strongly advise that you go to view, inventory, quantities, and you're going to then go and check those quantities for February. Now, guys, what this does is this takes into account the quantities up until the very last day of that period. And you want to make sure that they have changed accordingly. As long as they are correct, you should be happy. If there is no change here from before you took the stock take, that means that your snapshot was also corrupted. In this instance, make a backup of the company, browse to the company folder, and guys, I think this only works from version 17 and above. If you're on 14 and below, you're going to need to phone our support desk so that they can assist you to run the stock take, or the stock fix. You're then going to go fix stock V19, for example, and you're going to select the company. So you want to run stock fix on that data set. Once it tells you it's created a TXT, please don't just continue to fix it. Please go and double check on the company and open that TXT file, because what you might see is that there may be errors here where it tells you inventory item doesn't exist, but this contains history, and this might be an item that you actually want. If you choose to continue to fix the inventory, that item's going to disappear. So look at what the errors are. If you're unsure what the errors are, please let us know. Again, you can email supportsa@sage.com. Supportsa@sage.com, and you can attach the stock fix file and go, hi, I've got these errors. Can I run the stock fix? What would you advise? And we can advise you accordingly. If you are happy to run, you'll just say yes, and it will tell you that it's completed it. Once it's completed that, guys, then you can try to do the stock fix again. Then guys, the next check that you need to run is if you are using foreign currency. Again, this is only in partner. And if you're using multi-currency or the foreign currency add-on module, you will need to run something called the foreign currency revaluation. The foreign currency revaluation can only be run in the current year. And what it does is it makes sure that the amount that you have in foreign currency and the amount that you have in rands ties up, so that when eventually the supplier is zero or the customer is zero, and you have zero in the foreign currency, you also have zero in your home currency. You don't want to go, oh, okay, I've paid the supplier in total, and then you look and it goes, either they owe you R4.50 or you owe them R4.50. Because if you don't run the revaluation in the current year, there's no way to fix that. And how you do that is you go to process, foreign currency revaluation. You can revalue your cash books, your customers, your suppliers. You can do a combination. You can do all of them, totally up to you, depending on what you have. You're going to say next, and you're going to choose the period. You then are going to go to edit exchange rates. And the reason for this is that you want to ensure that the exchange rates are set up correctly for each of your foreign currencies. And you're going to do it per period. Unfortunately, it does not do whatever you entered on that specific transaction. It does do it per period. You're going to say, okay, when you're happy, you're going to enter, for example, 21 reval year end, for example. Whatever makes sense. Next. Please print the report. So guys, the report should look like the following. It does not allow you to print to screen, so I normally print to PDF. And you want to double check, okay, this is what it says for my cash book because I selected everything. This is what it says for my foreign currency suppliers, and this is what it says for my customers. You want to check, is this correct? Is it incorrect? Am I happy? What is the variance? What is it writing? If you are happy with it, that is where you continue. So it's pretty straightforward. Print the report, next, and process. And it will then write those variances. If you only ran one at a time, you can start again. So that is your foreign currency revaluation. Guys, something that you actually can do immediately, and I apologize, I try to do this in the order that I normally do it in, but it is ensuring that you have a retained income account. Now, the retained income account is where your profit and loss is written to when processing the year end, and it zeroes your income statement for the new financial year. That profit and loss has to be written somewhere. That is to your retained income account. Generally, if you don't have one, you should get an error. It should tell you, but I have seen where people have two because we've told them to double check and they thought rather safe than sorry. Guys, in this instance, that also does not work and you're going to have a lot of errors. You need to ensure that you have a retained income account by going to Edit General Ledger Accounts and making sure that you have only one. So when you go to search, you're going to select, or you're going to check your financial categories. And what you want to see is you only want to see one that says retained income. So you're going to check through all of them. As long as you only see one retained income account, great. If you don't see one, please create it. It is a balance sheet account. It should be retained income or loss. Something with the retained income to bear in mind is that it is the only account this occurs with, but when you view your trial balance, you will notice that your closing balance for February of your retained income account and your opening balance for March are not the same. The difference should be the profit and loss from your February trial balance. Whatever is in the profit and loss, that is what should be written to your retained income, and that should be the difference between the closing balance for Feb and the opening balance for March. So please bear that in mind. Then guys, printing your reports, you need to make sure that you've done that, but only do that after you have updated all of the open batches. Now, open batches generates a lot of calls. I've done a very extensive video in this, guys. I don't know if I've got every scenario in this data set. I did try, but please view the video as well. It is really important, and there are quite a lot of tips and tricks in that. So firstly, you need to go to view open batches. You cannot run the year end if you have open batches unless you have put, for example, the Pastel documents on hold. You can do it then. They are quotation, sales orders, purchase orders. If, like here, you have inventory journals and point of sale documents, cash ups, etc., you will get the error state open batches detected. So here, if you're logged in as a supervisor, you can just double click to jump to that batch and you can come and have a look. Is this something that you want to update? Is this something that you want to delete? Because this is basically a journal, you can choose what you want to do. You can either delete the line, or you can go to batch, delete batch, or you can choose to update the batch. It's entirely up to you, but this is basically what our journals look like, although it's an inventory journal. On your cash book, it is the same thing. You would jump to the side of the cash book where you see that you have the transactions. You can also jump to it from where you were. And what you can do is choose to delete or update those batches. Then guys, if we go back to view open batches, we can see that we still have point of sale and our customer invoices. So quotation, sales orders, purchase orders are non-updatable documents. It's fine, you can roll over with them. But unless these are placed on hold, you will not be able to. Unless this is updated, you will not be able to. So a lot of the time people go, okay, but why can't I place my point of sale documents on hold? You can't. It will not work. You will have a problem. So here you would go to process, and you would go point of sale, and what you want to do is you want to look for cash on delivery or on hold documents firstly. So if you know that you've done the cash up, if you know that you've updated all documents, you're going to go to edit, and what you want to see is no documents exist for editing. However, you may need to go through each and every user because there may be a document on hold or COD. So if, for example, there was a document on hold, you would need to take it off of hold. So on hold looks like that, cash on delivery looks like that, and you would need to complete the transaction. So if, for example, we had a line and it was on hold, we would have taken it off of hold, and we would have completed it. Okay, this is, for example, 1,000, whatever. Or alternatively, again, if this is an old document, you actually know, I don't want this, this was a mistake, Guys, you can delete this line. So you can Control D to delete the line, or you can just press delete, and it for some reason does not want to let me do this right now, which is really annoying. Alternatively, you can just zero it. So guys, I'm so sorry. I must have forgotten to turn on that part, which sucks. Just want to double check. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I did not move to the next line. Please move to the next line, but you can Control D to zero the transaction. And then you can just update, for example. It's going to tell you that it's important. Do you wish to update? You can say yes. And it should make a backup. If you do not have any documents or CODs, cash on delivery, you need to log in as a supervisor and you need to go to process, update all documents. It might be that you need to update your documents. If you are in your Pastel, you will need to close your Pastel. As you saw, one or more users are logged into this company. Again, guys, this is sole access mode. And you're going to say, okay, then you start. It's going to ask you to set up a backup if you hadn't not already done so. And then it should update if there were any documents. Once it's done, you're going to say, okay, and then as a supervisor, please do the supervisor cash up. So double check, okay, is there a cash up? Okay, I need to complete this. And then you're going to check your variances. If there are any variances, you need to see why. If they're not, you can finalize your cash up. And you need to do this per user. Once you're done, you can close your point of sale. I'm just going to quickly open up my Pastel again. So guys, again, you want to go to File, you want to open and you want to go to View, Open Batches. Now guys, if you're running the latest version of Pastel and you have a batch without a user, it will tell you here, user exists where the batch does not, and it will ask you if you want to move the batch to the currently open supervisor, or if you want to go and create the user, and it will tell you which user, for example, user 5. My advice is rather create the user, because if you have open batches, as I do tax invoices, I might not want this batch to be mixed with my batch, because what if it's a batch I don't want? Now I've got to go and sift through it and see, oh, this is old, delete this document. It's easier if you, especially if it is customer and supplier documents, to rather go and create that user and then view those batches on that user. So that, I think that we put that into place from the last version or the last build of 14. My strong advice though would be to move over to Sage 50C, as there are other checks we've put in place. In this instance, the last thing that I need to do is sort out my tax invoices. Now, as I advised, you are able to place documents from within your Pastel program, not point of sale, on hold. And you can go to Process, on hold assistance, and it will tell you what customer and supplier documents are available to place on hold. And guys, you can do this so quickly. Instead of you having to one by one tick the on hold, you just say next, select the range of customers you want to place on hold, and you can say select all, deselect all, next, and you can literally just go, if it was on select all of these documents and process. And that will place everything on hold. What you need to bear in mind, though, is that if you are placing documents you processed in February on hold, when you take them off of hold after running the year-end assistant, you are going to need to change the dates. So that is one of your post year-end checks. Then guys, if after you've done all of this, you try to run the year-end and you still get told open batches found, please read the document, please watch the video, because there may be a stray ACC BTN file, ACC BSJ. You need to delete those files, or it may be that you have a batch for a missing user. And I show you how to find those by using very specific files. Generally, the files that you can find, especially if there are no BTN files and you find these in the company file, and there's more than just ACC, BSJ, and BTN, which is why I say please check the documents. But you'd go in, and what you're going to do is you're going to go *.0. So you're telling it to show you all of your number files. If there are any ACC, BTNs, ACC, BSJ, it's going to show here. And normally it will be like ACC, BTN 4.001. Those files you can just delete. Those are generally cash books, general journals. Your BSJ are your inventory files. But if none of those files exist, like you look here and it looks like mine does now, you may notice that you have multiple ACC INV files. These are normally customer supplier document batches. And the number at the end, the 000, 001, 002, 099, that tells you what user it is, because what you're going to do is you're going to come into your Pastel, you're going to go to set up users, and you're going to check for which number has a unused next to it. So if you come here, you're going to go, okay, 000 is user 0, it's in use. I have a 005, 5 unused, there my missing user is. And you can create that user. So the video explains how to do that. Please use it. That can help you find the batch with a missing user. Guys, if after all of that you're still getting the error, please let us know. We can then have a look at the data for you and we can advise accordingly. Guys, once you have done all of that, you're probably ready to roll over. To roll over, you've got to change year end and you make sure that you make that backup. So we're going to go here and we're going to go into our year end 20 example. And now, guys, if you use the 13th period and you tick the option to please make last period, first period of the new financial year, it's going to ask you about the budgets. Please click yes. And then, guys, this, if you're running normal Express multi-user and if you're running partner, your screen will look the same. If you're running your Express startup, what you may find is that you have the option to just run the year end. You do not see create new company. You cannot run the year end in a new company. It just goes run year end. Guys, that is because Express Startup is only for one company. Now, here you have an option. Guys, there is the most common way people run the year end, and that comes with extra steps. And then there is the most efficient way. And this is only if you are a multi-user. If you are a single user, do whatever you want. There's no difference. There's no extra steps. As a multi-user, at this point, I have a company called Demo. I may want to run the year end in Demo. The reason being is that Demo already exists on everyone's machine. If I have to create a company, for example, called Demo 2021, and I run the year end in Demo 2021, I have to go and change all the passwords in Demo. I have to remove Demo off of all of my users, and I have to add Demo 2021. If, however, I rather create Demo 20, and this is the company I send to my auditors, and I run the year end in my currently open company. So guys, that's what this tick is. Tick this, year end is run in the new company. Untick it, it's run in the open company. All of my people already use Demo. So I don't need to do anything. All I need to do is kick everyone out, run my year end, and then go, okay guys, year end is done, please continue processing. If I tick the option, there's a lot more steps involved. Guys, please let me know if that does not make sense. If you have questions with regards to efficient versus common, most common is tick this option. This is the new company. Everyone must process in this. But then please remember, you have to change the passwords in the original company, in this case, demo, and you will need to make sure after running the year end that you have activated the companies on all the users and removed last year's company. For the sake of this demo, I am going to run it the most common way people do, because this is how most people choose to run it. It is entirely up to you, and both ways are correct, just one has more steps. So I'm going to use the most common way, not the most efficient way. We're going to say, and it's going to give me a runtime error 70. Now guys, this happens when either you don't have permission to this folder, so there's a problem with permissions, or you're trying to run it over a network, which I am not. It could be because I currently have these files open, so it froze it. So I'm going to remove those, and we're going to reopen our Pastel. So please bear that in mind. The year end should also be run locally, not over a network. That is one of the errors that normally comes up. And it's something that you need to bear in mind. It basically denies you the fact to actually read and write those files. So we're going to try again. If it still gives an error, I'm going to show you what else you need to do. So check if you are like me on the local machine, and how you can see that is if you hold the Windows key and E for your file explorer and you go to this PC. If the companies are saved on the local disk, so here I see my demo, local disk, this PC, it's under devices and drives, this is local. If however I access it via a map drive, so P drive, and I check this PC, network location, this is over the network, please stop and gain access to the server machine. If you cannot gain access to the server machine, please speak to your IT on a way around this. Yes, you can copy the company from here onto your Pastel folder, run it locally, copy it back. But guys, at some point, someone's going to need access to the server to add the company. So please explain the process of this to your IT. Just say to them, look, I need like a little bit of time just to run the year end on the actual server. It's a lot less hassle. That is first prize. Run it on the machine where the companies are saved locally. So again, file, I'm going to open the demo. Change year end. We know that we've already done our backup, so we can just say next, yes. Demo 21, for example, run year end in this company, because this is how most people prefer to run the. Okay, now guys, if this comes up, the reason for this is if we go and have a look at our Pastel folder, you will notice that although it gave me the runtime error 70, it actually created the company. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. If it does this and you absolutely want to use this company because you don't want random companies there, all that you do is delete the company, click on OK, and just go next again. Guys, you can also do this if you, for example, see that your periods are incorrect in the new company or the year end was run in the wrong company. It is one of the solutions to resolving that. There are two ways to resolve it. One is just to rename the folders. The other is to delete, for example, demo 2021, if I had not ticked that, and then to restore a backup and redo. So in this instance, that message told me I had to change my passwords in the original company. It's then going to advise you to please print your reports. You should print them before, but if you forgot, you can print them after. It is not a train smash. Click on next. It's going to tell you what the year end does. It zeroes out your income statements. It increments your year by 1, and it posts your profit and loss to the retained income account. You're going to say process. Now guys, depending on the data depends on how long this takes to run. It may take a couple of seconds. Again, I've seen this take a number of hours, if not a full day to run. It depends on the size of your data, and if you get the program state not responding, please do not close the year end. If you do feel that it's excessive and you close the year end assistant, please restore your backup, because if you don't, your data is going to be corrupted. It is going through every single transaction that you processed and changing it to last year. That takes a phenomenal amount of time depending on the size of your data. Once it's done, you can click on OK and you can click on Finish. Now, guys, if you chose to run the year end the most common way, you will notice that the new company or the company that the year end was run in opens immediately. Now, your very first thing before you do anything else is to go to set up periods. If your periods are wrong, it doesn't matter if you have data corruption, nothing else matters. You're going to have to start again anyway. You want to make sure that your periods are correct. Whew, March is my first period. That's what I wanted. Great. It is 2021 to 2022. Great. My periods are correct. If you see April here or you see February here, and that's not what you intended, it's wrong. If this is 22 to 23, you've run the year end too many times, it's wrong. Please restore your before year end backup and check your periods and then redo it. As long as this is correct, you're going to say okay. The very next thing you're going to do is to go file data integrity. Yes, you're going to verify the data both before and after you run the year end. And you should do both just before. If no errors were on it before, you want no errors on it after. If you happen to have a few errors, and we advised you that you could run the year end with those errors, guys, what you're going to need to ensure is that there are no new errors. As long as there are no new errors, you can click on Finish. If there are any new errors, we strongly advise that you please restore your year-end backup, redo it. If there are still errors, get hold of us immediately so we can assist. From here, your very next thing would now be, because you chose to run the year end in a new company, we're going to go to File, Open, and we're going to change our passwords. Because people are creatures of habit. Even if you don't think that people are going to notice the difference between Demo and Demo 2021. They are. Even if you don't think your brain will see it, you will automatically open Demo because that's what you've been opening for the last 300 plus days. So we strongly advise you rather change the passwords in the original company. So you're going to go to Setup, Users and Passwords, Users, and you're going to change that password, however you choose to change it. Now, guys, if you're a multi-user with 20 users, you're not going to have to come up with 20 alternative numbers. Yes, you can just add, for example, exclamation at the end of every password, but you're going to need to do that because this is going to stop people from accidentally opening last year's company and processing on it. Because they're going to enter their password and it's going to go no, and they're going to go, oh, flip, I'm opening the wrong company. If you change the passwords in the new company and they open this company, they're going to continue processing. They're not going to think anything of it. On top of this, you're also going to need to go to File, Open, Manage. And on every single person's computer or workstation, this is probably what you're going to see. You're going to see last year's company and this year, but it's going to have a little cross on it. You're going to have to decide, am I removing or deactivating the company? And then you're going to have to sit and activate this company from your map drive. And then you're going to be able to tell, you know, whoever's doing your books, hey, Tundi, I've come, I've added the new financial year, you can continue to process. Then you're going to need to go to the next person. Hey, Sam, I've done the same. You can now process. And whoever is last, they're going to have to wait the longest. So, guys, this is why I say it's ineffective, because no one can process until you've done this. And then you're also going to need to chat to whoever is going to be processing your year-end journals. So very often auditors will come back. They'll tell you that there are year-end journals. That person will have to have both of the companies. Once you have done this, guys, then again, it's kind of like a, hey, when you get to it, you will then, everyone will on, but something that if you did place documents on hold, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go and now take them off of hold. Now, guys, if you use the on-hold assistant to remove them, please remember, because it is so much easier to forget doing it this way than it is to actually go this way to them. Please remember that you are going to still have to go into these accounts and you are going to have to check the dates. And the reason for this is you can see that this was actually in August last year, but it's putting it in March. You are going to need to make sure that the dates correspond, because otherwise you're going to have out of period processing. You will update the batch, and normally these will be invoices that were processed in February possibly, and you're going to find that they have March's period with February's date. So you need to alter the dates or double check the dates. If you were using the 13th period and you just didn't want to update your invoices for March, but you wanted to capture, totally different, but please still be aware. Make sure that the period and the date correspond so that you don't have out of period processing. The last check that you need is if you are using IronTree or the cloud backup solution or whatever backup solution you have, please ensure that you are backing up the new company. Guys, in 11 years, too often I've had clients phone 6 months down the line, hey, I've got an error, okay, do you have a backup? Yeah, I'm with IronTree, or yeah, I've got the cloud backups. And I'm like, great, okay, let's go get them. And they're like, but demo 21 isn't here. I've got demo and it's backed up demo the whole time, but demo 21 isn't here. Okay, did you tell IronTree you created demo? No. IronTree doesn't know that you created demo 21, so they're not backing it up. On the cloud backups as well, guys, it doesn't know that demo 21 is there. You need to tell it, hey, now back up this. It is also one of the downsides of running the year end, the most common way people run it. Had you continued to run the year end in demo, none of this would be a problem because you know demo is being backed up. So guys, just something to bear in mind. And then guys, a couple of tips. I've shown you the classic way, the classic checks. We've spoken about all the checks and I've shown you the classic way to run a year end, the way most people do it. However, if you are using point of sale SQL, I was using Access, but if you are using SQL, point of sale or debtors manager, you have to run the year end in the original company. You cannot run it in a new company. The reason for that is you're going to break your SQL and then you are going to be very upset. So guys, if you're using debtors manager or point of sale SQL, you cannot run the year end the most common way. You have to run it the other way. Otherwise, you are going to break your SQL data set. There are videos on how to make SQL backups for you and all of that stuff. Unfortunately, I am out of time and I myself do not have my SQL set up. So guys, please bear that in mind. Otherwise, I do hope that you found this informative. Guys, all of these videos are available on the Year-End Center, just so you are aware. They are here in your Year-End Center. They are in the video section, and if any of these videos are missing within the next week, they will be added. This whole process will be added here because people asked if I could just do one recording with everything. I have done that. I hope that it's adequate. But guys, we broke it up into bite-sized chunks specifically to assist you. And there are even other videos here like year-end run wrong company, periods incorrect after running the year-end, and what you need to do to resolve that, as well as all of that documentation. So guys, if there are any questions, please can you use the question icon that you can find on the right-hand side of your screen. It should look like a little question in a speech bubble, and it should have a little red dot in it. I will then answer those questions via text. You are muted, so I cannot hear you, so you do need to type your question through to me. Otherwise, if you don't have any questions, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a fantastic day further. And guys, please remember that these Q&A sessions are actually meant to be Q&A sessions. So what that means is that you can drop into any session, Monday to Friday, 10 to 11, 2 to 3, and you can ask me questions or issues that you are struggling with regards to year end. I will then assist you accordingly. I am merely running demos at the moment because a lot of people didn't understand what these sessions were for or how they worked. So please bear that in mind. Even if it is halfway through a session, you are welcome to still jump in. Oh, it's 2:30. I have a question. Don't worry about it. Jump into the session. If we need to go over time, so we need to go past 11, we need to go past 3, I really don't mind. Obviously, I will call a cutoff for questions because we can't just keep going all day. But I don't mind if we go half an hour to an hour over. If it helps you guys, instead of you having to sit to speak to support via the telephone or via the chat or an email, I'm more than happy to assist. But guys, otherwise, if you don't have any questions, you're welcome to leave the session. And again, thank you for joining me and have a wonderful afternoon further.